All right, our buddy Logie Bear. I was laughing at that. Logan Mize. Who calls you Logie Bear?
Logie Bear, yeah, that's kind of well. Jill, my wife, used to call me that. Well, she does sometimes when she's being nice. She calls me that, and so I started saying I was Logie B, and it kind of somehow entered my Zoom. So I forget that's on there.
I got it. Logie B sounds like if you're gonna have a midlife crisis like Zach Brown had and start rapping, you
It
could go
might
by like
happen,
Logie
man.
B.
Yeah, start making that electronic dance music.
I mean, didn't you cover one time? It's not really electronic, but
You too? What was it?
no, you covered Coldplay, right?
Oh, Coldplay.
That's
I
a sore
thought
subject, man.
really because I thought you crushed it. No,
Thank you. No, honestly, I'm glad I stretched myself on it. It was an argument between me and Carla Wallace. I'll call her out. I love her to death. She runs the Big Yellow Dog label. It's an indie label I'm on. And she called me in and she played me that song. She's like, "You know this song?" I'm like, "Yeah, everybody knows that song." And she's like, "You're gonna sing it." And I was like, "No, I'm not." And it was kind of like a trade-off of like, I just want to hear you sing it. At least record it. I'm not saying we have to put it out. Um, and then I'll let you do this other thing. And I was like, come on, this is an indie label. We're not playing this game. And I went in and recorded it in the studio and got it back, and she loved it. She's like, please let us put it out. And so I did, reluctantly. And luckily, I didn't get too much pushback on it. So
I've
anyway,
also seen you do it live though,
Live is
Mhm.
really fun.
and it's kind of got like the guitars rocking. It's not quite as like yours wasn't really electronic though, sort of, but like
Yeah, we turned it into a rock thing, a lot of electric guitars and whatnot. But
I thought it was cool. I mean,
thanks.
if it makes you feel better.
I had a Coldplay phase in high school when they were like singing Yellow and those type of depressing songs.
Oh yeah,
And then they got real weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I
Mumford
mean,
and Sons got weird.
wasn't he married to Gwyneth Paltrow for a while? Like,
Yeah, I mean that
you
explains
know, it's
everything.
like it's at
Yeah,
that point
strong, man.
She sells a vagina candle, right?
for like $100.
Do you
$100
know about
bucks.
this? You know about this?
No,
Look?
that's a market I need to know more about.
Was it Wes? Like it smells like a vagina.
It smells like a vagina. That's the
Wow.
that's the scent. I don't know if it's hers or somebody else's or just one in general, but
There's
that's
a lot
the
that you can go so many different ways, because there's some vaginas out there that smell like a dumpster behind Joe's Pub in Chicago, and then there's some that smell like a fresh flower. It's
Yeah.
that's an
But
interesting market.
she's got like that brand that's like this. Like some people call it like a cult. I don't even want to talk. I don't even know what she like. There's a kind of celebrity like you want to like kind of keep.
she's
cool.
listening. Somewhere, somehow, she's listening.
I hope so. I want to know what this candle smells like and see if it
Maybe we'll buy it for you for Christmas and send it to Kansas.
Oh man, that'd be great.
Your wife would love it.
Yeah.
Just put it in the house. Take a look. But the Opry debut thing I wanted to ask you about first. The video your family shot was really cool. By your January, you're gonna make your Opry debut.
Yeah.
In the video, though, I was laughing with Wes. I was like, there's a part of you that looks like your heart rate is going because you don't know what's going on. Did you think maybe there's like a baby on the way? You're like panicking?
Yeah, a lot of people thought that there was some panic there, Well, we were two and out, and not by choice. I actually wanted more kids, but and so did Jill. But we just kind of there was some medical stuff that went on.
Oh, okay.
The doctor was like, you guys can't do this again.
Okay.
So we were done with two, I thought, and then that video started filming, and I'm like, oh man, what's going on? What am I about to? And everyone was in a really good mood, right? So, but yeah, that's the first thing that came to my head. And then when Violet, my daughter, said she started with Opry, I was like, oh man, that's what's happening. So yeah, definitely like the nervous feeling came over me for about 5-10 seconds of, your heart starts racing a little bit.
Are you super pumped to play the Opry? Because I know a lot of people say that that's like kind of the bucket list thing of a country music artist. So I can only imagine that it's like for you, it's like such a big moment in your career.
Yeah, well, it's a rite of passage, especially, and I've been on a couple major labels, but for the most of my career, I've been independent. And so it almost feels like you're not getting knighted, but, you're getting like a nod of approval from the mothership. They're saying, hey, we recognize you. We see you out there. We see what you've been doing. And come on and play our show. And it's really cool because I've always been a fan of the Opry. I mean, that was one of the first things I did when I moved to Nashville 16 years ago is, oh, I'm going to go to the Opry. I think I saw Trace Adkins and I can't remember who, and I was never a huge Trace fan, but man, that night it was freaking awesome, you know? And I remember thinking, I'll be up there someday. I didn't know it would take 16 years, but you know, here we are.
We went once. I thought the coolest part, Wes, if you remember, like how the band like practices with the performer, like right before they go on, basically they're all like in a little room, and I just thought there was like I've never seen anything like that. Obviously, a bunch of old dudes, you know, on their instruments, like crushing it, and then whoever the artist is in there, and they like get it together, and boom, you're on. Yeah, so it's like it's pretty cool. I mean, they definitely have a lot of different people on too, right? Didn't they just have that Jelly Roll fellow on?
Yeah,
I didn't know he was. Yeah, he's a singer now, right? He's like, I thought he was like a rapper, but
I don't know anything about Jelly Roll. I saw the video, like the "We're inviting you to play the Opry" video, and he seemed like he was really flattered by it, and it seemed really his reaction was really genuine, you know.
Yeah, so, he seems cool.
If I remember right, he's like a Nashville native. I think he's from around there. So I imagine for him, it's probably like kind of a hometown nod of approval.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he's around there. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure.
You left Nashville, which is awesome. You moved back to Kansas. I don't know if we talked about this the last time we did a podcast, which we'll get to that fun podcast. But what was kind of the impetus to be like, I'm out of here? Because I think most people have realized Nashville's kind of turning into this very commercialized, literally physically ultra commercialized place with all like the way Broadway is now. And you see guys like Dirk Bentley, it's like, fuck this, I'm buying a house in Colorado, and like moves to Telluride for the last year plus. And what was it for you specifically? Were you just like, there's nothing here for me? Was that kind of the...
No, I don't have anything against Nashville. There's a really great songwriting community, a lot of great players. I mean, when people think Nashville, they think of like the 10 artists that get played over and over every hour on the radio. But there's such a really cool artistic community there, and I'm glad I moved there when I did, before the town got big and bloated, like it felt like a small LA, you know. Not the city, but just the attitude kind of started.
Yes.
You know, like,
that's how we describe it.
Yeah, the pageantry started becoming before the artistry, and the artistry kind of got buried. And it's like people in East Nashville or people who are kind of on the fringe that are going, what happened, you know? And I started feeling that way a little bit. And I've never been bitter. I've always enjoyed being independent. But when I first started, I was, you know, I grew up on the Kansas-Oklahoma border. So we were getting Boland, Randy Rogers, Wade Bowen, you know, Reckless Kelly, all those bands were coming up through Wichita, and I'd go see all the shows, Pat Green, Jack Ingram. And that's what I was really into. So I couldn't figure out, like, am I going to go to Texas or am I going to go to Nashville? I don't feel like I'm going to fit in Texas because I'm the Kansas dude. And where would I go? Do I move to New Braunfels and just start like trying to, you know, pick somebody's ear down there? What am I
trying to run into Randy Rogers?
Trying to run into Randy Rogers, you know, which I have over the years, and he's great, great guy. But I ultimately decided on Nashville just because you know, that's where the publishing companies are, and you know, I'm writing songs, maybe I can get a publishing deal or something. And so I ended up going to Nashville, and I don't regret it. I'm glad I did. It was huge for me to learn like how to play in the studio, how to write a song with professional songwriters, and so it really shaped me a lot. But I found my own voice along the way, and it was like I found my own style of writing. I found my own way I wanted to do things, how I wanted to run my business. And it came to a point where I was like, I don't need Nashville anymore. I know what's there. I know I have my connections. You know, if I want to go write with Casey Beathard, I'll give him a call and go write with Casey. But I want to live. I don't feel like I could sell what I was offering from Nashville. I feel like I had to be in it, living the life that I'm singing about. You know, now I live on the family farm. I'm out working wheat harvest and bean harvest, and you know, I think it's a little bit more believable, a little more authentic, and I definitely feel a lot more like myself here. So that's the long answer, I guess.
It's a good answer. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's got to feel good, right, to to go back to that farm life, right? Slow
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, it's cool. And I don't do it full time. You know, I do it when they call me and they need an extra truck driver. So I kind of get to dip my toe in. And then, and if I have something like this or if I have a show, it's like, I got to peace out, you know, and they're really cool. It's my wife's first cousin who runs the farm and, you know, he's really cool with me about that kind of stuff. So it's great.
That picture on your porch, I think you're with your daughter, I believe, and you guys are drinking like a can of Sprite or something. I posted on your Instagram.
Yeah.
Sun setting. I'm like, it looks like a scene from Interstellar. You know, they're living in that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, that does something. I feel like, and when I left Chicago, moved to Colorado, I felt the same thing. I'm like, it just like the anxieties of big city life and kind of the movement and the annoyances. Like when that goes away, it's not like a thing you just like realize right away. But 6 months go by, you're like, oh, I haven't gotten angry on an elevator in 6 months.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like in my high rise that I was living in or whatever, you know?
And you love
a
it,
little thing,
right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm probably not too far from you, 6 hours or something like that.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I know the last time you guys invited us to your place, I told my wife, I was like, I think that
We're going.
hopefully the offer's still up.
Yeah, the offer's on the table, man. We're trying to get more room out here, build a little bunk barn. We need to get some
like
folks.
Yellowstone, like have a bunch of
Cabins. Do you got a lot of land out there?
Well, we're on her family's farm ground, so it's a ton of ground, but we only own 5 acres. So we just bought a little sliver, built a house, and you know, we got, you know, a long driveway that comes back to it and a creek behind the house, but we don't own all of it. You know, it's her family's farm ground, most of it. So it's I think we're on a square mile. It's like, and there's some other little 5-acre plots on it, but it's probably 280 acres, something like that we're on. So
how far do you have to drive? Like how does your grocery stuff go? And is it like a long drive into
it's not bad. Wichita's probably a half hour.
Oh, okay.
And Clearwater, where I grew up, is like a town of 2,000. My family has a grocery store there still, and that's like a 40-minute drive south. So it's not bad. So
nice.
Yeah, it's not bad. I grew up in Western Illinois on about 7 acres, and we were about 10, 15 minutes from town and 10 to 15 minutes from the other town. But now I've been in Chicago about 15 years and I'm just ready to blow my head off.
yeah.
I just need to get out of here.
Yeah, man, I get it. That was like the same thing with Nashville too. I just felt angry all the time. Why am I sitting in traffic? Why am I doing this? This does not feel natural. Everybody's like pissed off on the way in, and I'm trying to go write a country song on Music Row, and then by the time I get there, I don't feel like writing a country song. I feel like lighting something on fire. And then you try to beat 5 o'clock traffic or write till after it's over, and then it's a rat race. You know, it's a big competition. And we're all writing the same song. And anyway,
and then you just go to Red Door and get wasted, and you didn't accomplish anything, and you're
exactly.
like, fuck it.
Exactly. That's the
what was your bar of choice when you were living in Nashville?
It changed over the years. When I first got signed to a publishing deal in 2007, there was a place called Losers. There was no Winners, and there wasn't like a Big Deck or Whiskey Jam didn't exist, any of that. And I would go in there after I was done writing. I had a little publishing deal that paid $16,000 a year. I thought, what am I going to do with all this money? Because I was driving a party bus for, scraps. And I would, I would dream about what if I could just get a writing deal and write songs. And I did. And he's like, $16,000 a year. I thought I was rich. So I went down and I wrote every day. I lived in a shack out in Leapers Fork. And I would get done writing and I'd go to Losers. And usually the only people in there was Jamie Johnson and Randy Houser and maybe a couple of locals. So those guys were really cool to me.
Yeah.
And then obviously Losers changed really, really quick. So yeah, but those guys were always really nice.
Jamie Johnson needs to put out an album. That's one of the tweets we always post is like, new Jamie Johnson music, new album, and everybody got excited because didn't he tease something West where we thought he did, and then he did.
His steel player said they recorded an album. He's like, we recorded it. We got a Charlie Daniels cover on there. It was great. Jamie should maybe be putting it out, and Jamie was like, we didn't record an album.
Yeah, I wonder if there's some contractual stuff in there that he's trying to wait till it expires or something, or he's got lawyers on it.
That yeah, that part of the business seems like an absolute nightmare. Didn't Tim McGraw go through hell years ago where he like couldn't record anything? And
Scotty too, trying to get out
Scotty
from under his
McCreery.
American Idol deal. He waited 5 years to put out an album, and then he got number ones.
Crazy, man. You go to Nashville and you think I'm going to put out all this music, and every song I write that I think is good, I can put it out. You get
No.
to a label and they just put you on a shelf, and you're like, I'm turning in all these songs, these recordings, and they're like, that's not the right time. And next thing you know, you're just sitting in Nashville on a hamster wheel, and you're not pursuing a career. You're just schmoozing with some people at a record label that aren't letting you have a music career, you know? It's bizarre. I still haven't figured that out.
Is there any benefit necessarily to an artist to like sit on the shelf like that? Because like, do you get like a base salary of any kind, or because if you're
Yeah.
not recording, right, they're not like fronting you a lot of money
Yeah,
necessarily.
they'll probably give you a stipend, some sort of draw, a monthly draw or something like that if they own your publishing or oh, and it's not much, but yeah, you can survive, you can survive and you can mingle and meet friends. And there's some people that need developmental deals that need time to just sit there and learn from other people. I didn't have the patience, which is why I bought a van and just started playing shows. And so I kind of got all of my developmental stuff out on the road in front of people, which maybe isn't ideal. And I think that's attributed to what's taken me around the long way. I've made a lot of mistakes. I made some bad records, one in particular, but I was young. I was
Which one?
my very first one. I was 21 years old when I wrote most of those songs. I still didn't know how to sing in a studio, but I was like, hey, if I'm going to do this, I might as well do it. And but at that point, my now self, it's been good. Don't get me wrong, but I would have said maybe wait a little bit till you know more about what you're doing,
Mhm.
how to do it, how to write a song. Be authentic. I don't think I was being authentic. There's a couple moments on there where I was, but for the most part, it was like I'm on Music Row. I wrote a song today. Let's record it and put it out.
Mm.
So that I don't know if it hindered or helped. I mean, I guess I'm playing the Opry in January, so I can't complain. But you figure it out the hard way. I figured out all the wrong ways to do everything. So
I always appreciate guys like you who I feel like there's a common thread with some of the favorite people, like some of our favorite people we've ever met, whether it's podcast or in real life. Yourself, Justin Moore, Kip Moore, like they all are honest about like, oh, like Kip's annoyed by something about a truck, like the fact that was like his, like he just like what a like whatever song. Now Justin Moore talks about that one album where it was a lot of like bro country era like drum loops and stuff, and he's like not that guy, and he like admits it, and I'm like, you just admitted like, oh, I wasn't happy that I did that.
right.
It's rare. I feel like that's one thing Wes and I get frustrated with is like it's rare to just get like this dose of honesty with a lot of people that are like in the machine, the hamster wheel, as you say,
Yeah.
because it's like everything's so robotic, so
Mhm.
fake, so like the pageantry, like you mentioned.
Mhm.
So just a little compliment to you on that, because it's just like nice to hear people admit it sometimes, be like, I didn't like that. I didn't like that I did that.
Yeah, well, you got to be honest with yourself, before. I mean, you get out there and you can get caught up in the whole, I'm in the music business. I have a publishing deal. I know this guy. I know that person, and you forget that the people who are consuming music, they can see through bullshit. They want something honest. They want something real, and you figure that out eventually. But like I said, I was so young, man. It took me so long to figure out who I even was, and so. But I did it. I did it in front of a small crowd instead of a big crowd. Thank God.
Are you talking
Yeah.
about your self-titled album?
Yeah, yeah.
Man, I like that album. What are you talking about?
I appreciate it, man.
Me and Steve were probably
was-
like sophomores in college.
Yeah,
We
I
might have
was
been
about to
sneaking
say.
into Joe's bar to see you if you were performing around that time. Maybe it was a couple years later, but
What year would that have been?
2010, maybe?
Yeah, that was that time. So my second one didn't come out till 2012. So I toured on that first album for like 3 years, and to tens of people at a time.
Yeah, I remember when Good Life came out. I think that was when. Oh shit! I just spilled my beer.
Oh, Jesus.
When Good Life came out, I was like, that's when I think we went to Joe's to see you. So maybe that was 2012. But
Yeah, that was around the time I started started to figure it out, and I was starting to figure out who I was and musically what I was doing. There was still some low moments on that record, but ultimately, like, I turned a corner, I think, and hopefully there's been some ups and downs, peaks and valleys, right?
Yeah, I mean, to switch gears a little bit here, you talked about traveling and playing a lot of these shows and stuff, and we were talking about a funny story. We've had it on the site a while. We probably brought it up a couple of times with Shania and Twain, talking about like peeing herself on stage, I believe. Right, Wes? Was it on Bravo? She was talking to Andy, whatever.
Andy Cohen.
I'm always like shocked. You have you ever had an incident on stage where you're like, I'm gonna like shit myself, or like I'm gonna puke, or I'm gonna like pee? How does this not happen more? Like, I've never been to a show in my life where the guy is like,
Just
he runs
about
off the stage. Gotta happen, right? You're eating and you're drinking usually before you go on there, right?
Yeah, I always had the nervous shits, and so it would be like I always knew I
Like the airport shits. Like, I get
yeah.
nervous before flying. I'm like, oh, it's start rumbling down there.
Oh yeah, man. And so I would kind of build that into my day, and I knew, so I'd kind of plan ahead, like, oh, they want me to go on at 9, just plan on 8:30 because you'll be, you got to hit the bathroom before. And sometimes you tell the promoter, hey, I'm going to be on 10 late or whatever. Um, and that still happens sometimes, most of the time, not anymore. But man, early on, it was like, trip to the bathroom, here we go. They're announcing your name, and you're trying to find a porta potty at an outdoor festival so you can go sweat your
Oh,
ass off and get eaten by flies before you walk on stage.
Jesus. It would just like terrify me.
Right.
Yeah,
You're just like sweating. You got up there, like, guys, you don't know what I just went through.
yeah, and I sweat a lot too. I'm one of those guys. I make the slightest movement and it's above 50 degrees and sweat's
But
going.
you're a big guy though.
Yeah,
You're
I
like
was
a
just about
really
to.
big guy.
I was about to say, for people who don't know, Logan's a large, large man. Like,
When we talk
what are you,
about
like
these
6'5"? Like,
No, 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 no. My father-in-law still thinks I'm 6'5". I'm only 6'3", and
okay,
you're
only.
like 240 probably, right? Or
about
more.
240. Yeah, I've been trying to drop a few. I've been doing a lot of boxing lately, so which is why I don't make. I've been drinking wine here.
Oh, I love wine, red
I'm a
wine.
big beer drinker, and I've been trying to cut back on that, and I've been boxing a lot, so I gotta trim up, gotta get that Opry bod.
Yeah.
Well, it's like we sometimes we'll like post some kind of just whatever like fun Twitter question about like, or what, Wes, you tweeted about Miranda Lambert would probably win in a bar fight over most of the guys that performed on the CMAs, right?
Yeah.
But it's like names like Trace Atkins come up a lot when you talk about like what country artist would like you want on your side. It's like you're one of those guys that's like under the radar a little bit. Was like, I want Logan Mize on my side. Did you ever have any issues when you were performing where some knucklehead kind of took it too far and you had to stop him a little bit?
I'm a teddy bear, man. I really am. But yeah, there was a run of shows early on. I remember that every night there was a fight, and I can't remember where we were, but there was a guy that had another dude pinned down by his collar of his shirt to the stage and was just beating him in the face, and his back of his head's on the edge of the stage. And I stopped the show for that guy. That poor guy
Yeah.
didn't have a chance. And I don't know what it was about. I don't know if it was over a girl, probably. And so I've had to break up a few fights, but I've never physically been in one at one of my shows. It's
That's
like,
good because I know I've heard some stories about those like early days where people are throwing bottles and like you gotta like, oh, we had somebody on West.
We had a Pecos Hurley from Pecos and Rooftops, and he was like, he said he had multiple fights outside trying to load in their gear, like just playing some of those rowdy Texas joints, chicken wire type joints.
oh yeah, I never got to do that, man. That was always I saw, I've seen those video Roadhouse or whatever. You see
Yeah,
those
Blues
videos.
Brothers.
Yeah, I've never gotten to stand behind the chicken wire, but I think that would be an experience. I would love to do that.
Do you think, kind of a little bit going back to what you were saying in this now, like playing on the road, do you think that's a better way to kind of come up, just playing shows? Or is it better to kind of just learn from some of the best, songwriters and artists and kind of just watch from the sidelines and learn that way?
Well, I think it depends on the person, right? Like a guy like Ian Munsick. I don't know if you're into him at all. I love him. I think he's great. He had a family band, right? So he's playing with his dad. His dad's a fiddle player. His brothers play. So he came up playing music for people. So a guy like that probably doesn't need to go out and earn his chops. He probably already has them. Whereas somebody like me, I didn't grow up. I had played piano. I did a couple piano recitals when I was a kid, but I never played in a band.
The
Uh,
recorder,
there you go. Right. That was about it. That was the extent
or
of
that's
it.
the flute. The recorder is like this, right?
I don't know.
Recorders, that one.
Yeah. We had to play the recorder in middle school.
Yeah, I think I played sax for like 6 months, and then I played piano, and I never really cared too much about it. And I wish I would have now, because now I'd use the piano daily,
Right.
recording demos and shit. So I'm still trying to get my chops back, but not that I ever had them. No, I think it was important for me to do it because I had to go figure out how to play in front of people, and work out what's good, what's not, banter, all that shit. But some people don't. They already have it. Some people just have it naturally. I had to cultivate it over the course of like 10 years. I had to figure it out on my own. So I'd say it varies person to person.
You think there's anything to be said about building fans that way as well? Because I think nowadays it's like there's a element of people like sometimes some guys, just girls, they build fans out on the road, show to show, town to town, 10, 15, 20 people at a time. Maybe they have a big night, and then some people like blow up on TikTok and then get a record deal, and then it's like they don't.
Yeah.
I don't know if they can sell a ticket or step on a stage, but they have enough people streaming their music. So, do you think there's like a better different strokes for different folks, or one way is better than the other?
I don't know if there's one way better than the other. TikTok's, man, I mean, that's like a whole new thing. My friend Alexander K, her and I did a song together called "Grew Apart," and she's coming to Wichita, I believe, in December to play at a big venue there. Pretty, I mean, it's good size. I'm over 1,000, and I think it's going to be sold out. So I might go join her on stage there for that. But she built it on TikTok, right? So I mean, people are coming out for those TikTok folks. I think the one thing, the advantage, I know Toby Keith has talked about this before too, but man, going out and actually physically meeting somebody face to face, you play your show, you go back to the merch booth, you sell them a t-shirt, or they tell you sucked, and it doesn't matter. Whatever conversation you have with them, you built some sort of, they trust you now. And so you see the people who don't do that and they have a radio hit, people will come out for a short period of time while that radio hit's relevant, but once that goes away, man, the fans are gone.
Yeah.
So if you go, I'm not saying it's the right way to do it. It's more the blue collar probably way to do it, but you go out and build it fan by fan, handshake by handshake. You don't have a radio hit, doesn't matter. They're still going to show up. They're still going to buy your records. So, yeah, it's whatever you prefer. I kind of liked the personal touch, more old school, kind of just get out there and grind it.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Wes and I both are like a lot of these artists that aren't on a mainstream label. They don't need the radio play. Like they're out there with the fans or building it the grassroots way, and it shows. I think regardless of what's going on. But you did release a new album, Welcome to Prairieville. Was that last month? October, right?
October, yeah.
Great album, a lot of great songs. I did want to ask you about I Need Mike. How did that song come about? Because that's a pretty heavy one, right?
Yeah, it's definitely the dark moment on the record. I'll try to tell you the short version. So my friend Blake Chaffin and I, we've been writing songs together since 2007, so a long time. And we both were kind of burnt out on the Music Row. Here's how you write a song on Music Row, and we're gonna, insert truck, insert beer, whatever. I mean, that's been happening forever, right? But so we kind of got burnt on that, and we're like, man, we should just. I was kind of into this. This is the nerd side of me is going to come out. I was into this Willa Cather novel at the time. She's a Nebraska gal from like the 1920s. Wrote a book called My Antonia, and I was into that. And there was a couple other books like Oh Pioneers and all that, and where she was kind of making up names of towns that weren't real, and the characters were like based on real people. And I was like, man, you know what we should do is we should make up a town and just start writing about it. And so we did that, made up Prairieville, and we wrote dozens of songs. I mean, maybe close to 100 songs about this town. And Blake at the time was going through divorce, and he decided to write about this character, Mike, who came from, there's 3 different people. And so most of the songs on Prairieville were either me and Blake wrote them, or I wrote them by myself, or Blake wrote it by himself. And that was the one that he brought that he wrote himself, and I brought one that I wrote myself. The rest of them are collaborations. But he had me come sing the demo. I'm going to screw this up. I think Mike is a combination of his best friend that died in 8th grade, a friend that was possibly like suicidal or something at the time, and then himself, because he was in a deep spot going through a divorce, and he was like trying to basically write a letter to himself of like, hey man, there's something to live for. Don't do this. Somebody out there needs you. And I mean, that's a real, especially nowadays, man, that's a message I think a lot of people need is no matter how dark it gets and how bad you feel, somebody out there needs you to be around. So don't do anything stupid, you know? But I sang the demo in that song, and I think that was 2013. And I hung on to it. I was like, when I get the chance, this has to go on the Prairieville album. And yeah, so that's where the song came from. Long story.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So how you said 2013? So has the Prairieville album been kind of in the works for a while, or is that just a song that you guys pulled for it?
Yeah, 2011 is when we wrote Welcome to Prairieville, and then we wrote about Prairieville for like years. And then through writing about the town, I kind of had figured out that I had my own little writing style, my own little quirks and stuff that I was doing. And so I kind of got rid of the really specific storyline. I kind of ditched the storyline and just went for more of the thematic version of Welcome to Prairieville. And there's songs that were written like 3 days before we went into the studio, all the way back to 2011. So they were the album was written over the course of 10 years, I guess. So
I mean, it shows.
What made you guys want to just kind of put that together at this point?
And with me moving back to Kansas, and I'd been through a couple major label deals, one on Sony, one on Atlantic, and as much as I would have loved one of those songs to pop on radio and ride that wave, I kind of felt like I'd already figured out, maybe if that never happens for me, that's fine. I kind of already know my lane, and this is, if I'm going to be authentic to the core, that now's the time to do it. From everything from the songs to the production, the way it's presented, having some cool art on the cover rather than a stupid picture of my mug just looking at the camera.
Right. You didn't want to do you didn't want to do the Garth Brooks.
Those are pretty cool, man. I remember having the Rope in the Wind record, thinking,
that's the more recent Garth ones.
Oh, the Kenny Chesney
man versus Machine.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that one.
You don't need to.
Looks like they airbrushed a soul patch on him.
Well, maybe that is the one. Is he wearing like a beaded necklace?
Yeah, I think so. Right?
Yeah, I think I have seen that. Yeah, he lost like 40 pounds. Yeah,
he's got the gas station sunglasses on that my dad still wears.
You gotta love it, man. You gotta love it.
I feel like we always, one of our podcast themes is we always have to figure out a way to bring up Garth Brooks.
Right. It's like,
because I love some Garth stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, some of his music and stuff, and he's an amazing performer. But
I mean, we saw him a few years back when he came back in Chicago. Like, he did the whole comeback.
Come on, the guy's bizarre.
You know what? I think his public persona it's just, I don't know if it might be just out of touch.
Like, he's got too many yes people around him is my theory. It's like people are like, hey Garth, like a little, like just turn it like just a little bit down. Like you're on broil at 550 degrees. We need you slow cooking these ribs at like 280.
Yeah. In person though, I can't think of a better guy, and
everybody says he's amazing. So I take their word
unbelievable,
for it,
unbelievable guy. I met him at the iHeart, some iHeart performance we did. It was at 7:00 in the morning. The entire iHeart folks were in Nashville at some convention. I don't know who wants to play music that early, but we were in a room together and he came and shook my hand. It was like shaking a bear paw. That dude isn't sitting around eating Cheetos. That dude is working. His hand was just calloused, like.
So he really is working, because he's sometimes on Trisha's kitchen in the field, and I'm always like, what's he doing out there?
Like he uses a shovel probably a lot.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, his hand felt like that's a man handshake.
Like Adrian Peterson shaking your hand, I've heard, like breaks everybody's hand.
Yeah, it was like that, and he was very genuine. He was very inquisitive. Asked me how I was doing. Asked me if I was having fun. Asked how my career was going. You know, he was very genuine dude. And there's also, not to take this Garth thing too long.
No, go ahead.
There's a story that he somebody had bought a bunch of hay from Oklahoma, and he was running a semi truck up to Kansas to drop off hay. A friend of mine said a semi pulled up and Garth got out to get the ticket or whatever. So I mean, I think this dude is legit. But yeah, he needs to take it off broil when it comes to the public persona, you know. And
He cries a lot too, which is like it's endearing, right? But he's some Kathy 17493 on Twitter says like, Garth, I love you. You made my year. And he's like reading the tweet on his Garth in the studio. He starts crying. It's like, Garth, this is a bot from the Philippines.
yeah, yeah. I know, man. I'm trying not to laugh too hard at that. That's a thing. It's some people cry, man. It's okay.
Yeah, no, it's totally okay. I mean, what sucks though is like my wife doesn't really know Garth's music, and I'm like, he's got some fucking, as the kids say, bangers. And it's like my wife doesn't know any of his music because it's like, I'm like, hey, do you have a Walkman? I can put it on a fucking CD and you can listen to it. Like nobody buys Amazon Music. Nobody.
No.
So what the fuck? Just put it on Spotify.
Yeah.
And tell me I'm crazy. You're a songwriter.
Why
would
would
a song? Hold on, please. Would a songwriter not prefer some money versus no money? I understand Spotify, everybody talks shit, and Apple, whatever.
Royalties are shit.
Royalties and all that stuff. But is it not better than nothing versus just being on Amazon if the writers are going to get something out of it if he puts his music on the other services? Tell me.
That's my take on it. But the only to play devil's advocate here, Garth already has enough money. He never has to worry about that. So maybe he's that good of a guy that he's not going to let the songwriters on his albums get paid what the royalty rates are that they're, you know, maybe he's like, hey, you know what? Whenever my songwriters are going to get paid what they deserve to be paid, I'll do it. I don't know. That's just, I'm just tossing stuff into the wind.
Maybe he can cut a check himself if he wanted to them.
Yeah, he probably could. And you know what?
Is that ever done?
There's actually
Kip did something like that. Yeah.
There's a story with Todd Snyder, I think, where he was going to cut All Right Guy or something like that. I can't remember which Todd Snyder song, and he didn't end up cutting it. And he wrote Todd Snyder a check for like 10 grand and said, hey, sorry, this didn't make the record. So I mean, I think his heart's in the right place for sure.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. Cause I've seen both sides. I've seen people like on Instagram stories kind of explain it both ways. And I'm like, these songwriters are struggling. You know, sometimes it's, hey, if the check's $800, it's $800. Maybe you can help pay your rent. You know what I mean? Like, it might make a difference. But speaking of like superstars and stuff, before we hit record, the CMA Awards, you didn't watch it, but you followed our tweets. Thank you.
Before we record, I did follow. Yes, I followed along.
But it's Wes, it was the worst ratings ever. Is that correct?
Oh, was it? I don't know.
Yeah,
it was pretty close to last year, but yeah, still the worst.
It's just I think people are hungry for something different, right? It's so the whole thing. Your wife watched it, but you were on Twitter.
She had it on, and I sat down. We had the kids out there, and I just got on Twitter and followed you guys' tweets, and I was reading them out loud. It was fun.
It was just like, I don't know. I used to get so excited for award shows because you never know what you're going to see. It was, you know, I love when like Reba hosts. No offense to Luke Bryan, who's another guy that everybody says is a great guy, but you know, like when Reba's hosting, it's kind of more endearing. You're like, oh, cool, like whatever.
Dolly.
And then Dolly, yeah. But now it's like, I don't know. It just seems so
sterile.
Yeah, sterile, I guess is the word. It just, and I imagine a lot of guys like yourself and gals that are artists who aren't quote unquote mainstream, like, probably don't watch it at all. What's there to watch?
Yeah, there's nothing to, well, and it's bizarre because
there's some good performances, but
yeah, like, okay, Chris Stapleton's on there, so nobody's in his league. Nobody can sing like that. So at least he's on there, and that's great. But how are you going to go from Chris Stapleton to
Dan and Shay?
Well, I'm not even going to shit on any artists. It's just
I will.
just the song selections, it seems so there's nothing there, man. And it's sad because even some of these major labels have great artists. I mean, like Sony, for instance, it's like put Morgan Wade out there. That chick is badass.
So Luke Combs is taking her on tour to stadiums. I respect the hell out of that.
Oh, I didn't know
He
that.
just announced that today.
Oh, well, there you go.
He's taking Zach Bryan, Morgan Wade, and Cody Johnson on his stadium tour next year.
Oh, there you go.
Like, come on, like for a guy like him to take those type of
yeah. And Luke
artists
Combs,
out.
by the way, that was a high point. The Luke Combs.
That's a great song.
Carly
Carly
too.
Pierce. She's a real one. Carly's a real one.
Yeah.
And
Ashley
then-
McBride, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the bummer for me too is they started out with Miranda doing like a medley, and it's like, okay, cool, whatever. Miranda can like put the whole room on their knees, sitting on a stool, playing a guitar, playing a song like Tin Man by herself. Like, let her do that. Let her make that moment. How many moments do we remember from the CMAs the last 5 years? Miranda Lambert singing Tin Man is like one of them. Just stool, no bells and whistles, like letting the music speak. And it's like, those are the kind of things that,
like back in the day, I remember there was a great one, like I think Better as a Memory. Is that Kenny saying that like on a stool similarly?
Yeah.
Those were always like the better performances for me. Eric Church is always pretty good with those award show things. But yeah, man, you get some real corny shit up there. And one of our best tweets of the night, which is that Kane Brown blocked us. I just took a screenshot. I don't know if you saw it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Well, Chris Young is a fun guy, really nice guy. We busted his balls about his selfies, and he bought us some shots when we saw him in Nashville. But
oh man,
talk about a guy that, my God, can he sing?
Oh my God, yeah.
And then it's like, but then he's like my famous friend. Wes, did you tweet that? It's like, I wish Chris Young had other famous friends.
yeah, just because
So-
I was hoping he would, had someone else to duet with, because I'm.
But the funny thing is like he knows that like Kane blocked us, and that we kind of like don't love his like more pop style of stuff now, and that's frustrating as a fan. I think a lot of times you see an artist where they start. I mean, one guy that we're not going to go down this road because I know you're a big Teddy Bear, like you said, but Dustin Lynch, for example, good God, man, his first song, everybody's like, this guy is the next coming to George Strait, Cowboys and Angels, and then just the fucking wheels fell off for me. I don't know what the hell happened there, but it was like
Logan's gonna bite his tongue.
I mean, that type of stuff annoys fans. It does. Like it bothers just a fan of the genre or of music. But when you I discovered this new guy. He has this great song, and then next thing you know, the next song is about like she cranks my tractor. It's like, fuck.
Yeah. Okay, I'll give you this. I was on a boat with Chris Young. This is 6 years ago. We're down.
There's a song title in Nashville right there.
Right there. I was in a boat with Chris Young 6 years ago. And we were out at some Sony function in Key West. And I remember, I'll never forget, he thanked all the radio people because now he can put his band on salary. And that's a real thing, when you want to keep the same band. So whatever's going through there, and I love Chris Young. I think he's a great person, and he's
a fun guy,
kind to me, and he's an amazing singer. So I have nothing bad to say about him. But when he said,
he likes tequila,
yeah, man,
he bought us tequila,
yeah.
But he said, hey, thanks to you, I can now put my band on salary. And I remember thinking like, well, hell yeah, if you can keep your band on salary, then you don't have to worry about finding a drummer when you could be writing a song. You don't have to worry about all this bullshit, right? So, I mean, if putting these songs out, whatever they are, get you to that status where you don't have to worry about all the day-to-day, like keeping a band together, whatever, then power to him, man. If he's going to sing Famous Friends, man, do it. If you don't have to worry about where
Now I'm going to play devil's advocate.
All right.
Because you did it earlier. I think he'd be bigger than Blake Shelton if he stuck to Black Dress Hitting the Floor music and kept the hat. I think he'd be bigger. I think he'd be an absolute monster. I think he'd be a superstar. Like he kind of is, but like I think he'd be like because now what I think what everybody sees is the traditional stuff is back. Like it's coming back. People love it. Like people want it. Like Luke Combs coming back and sounding like a 90s throwback with most of his stuff. People are like John Party. Like there's a reason that stuff works, I think. Yeah. so you get caught in this in between where you're kind of like, I'm not saying he's chasing trends at all, but a lot of artists do, where the bro country, whatever. And then now it's like, I feel like the next one is kind of this like 90s thing that we've kind of been experiencing. And, but when you can sing like that and that deep of a voice, I mean, it's like, like one of my favorite artists ever that I feel like just never became, because I don't think he really cared for, it was like Josh Turner. Like that's one of the all-time voices for me, like growing up.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm good with what I got. Like, I'm not trying to be fucking Luke Bryan. Like I know how good my voice is, and I'm gonna make good songs. And the few times he made like kind of corny poppy songs, they didn't do well. I mean, Firecracker's a great song, but
McLaughlin wrote that. Great song.
But you know what I mean? Like it's like there, you see that, and I think for Wes and I, we got jaded a little bit. You love an artist, you love the sound, and then it changes so much because of the industry, right?
I would say a good meet in the middle area is get a couple songs on the radio, get your band paid, and then cut that traditional country record.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But it's like, can you?
If you like it, because I don't even know if some of these artists
that's
even
true.
like.
I think a Chris Young could go into the studio and cut a really traditional, great sounding country record that would knock most people's asses in the dirt just because of how great of a singer he is. And it's like, can you go do that? Or is it like, because for me, it's always the production that loses me on some of his songs.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people's songs.
But then a song like Drowning to me was like, I mean, that was like a powerful, powerful song, like about his buddy that passed away. And it's like, you know, so then it's like you have those too. And I don't know. I just would like to see more traditional stuff from Chris Young. This is the plea. Chris. Actually, we should have Chris on the podcast.
Yeah.
But let's do a traditional album.
Yeah, he would crush it, man. You know who else would? Jared Neiman. That dude.
Really?
Yeah, man.
When he's not singing Donkey.
Gonna ride my donkey. I love Jared too. You know, he had this song called Yellow Brick Road. He's another Kansas dude. There's not many of us.
Eric Dillon.
Eric Dillon, there you go.
Or that, yeah.
Shout out to him.
Shout out Eric.
Yeah, he just signed a new deal with 50 Egg, I think, and Riley Duckman, or Riley Green. Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Riley Duckman. Yeah, he just signed a new deal with them and announced it today. So shout out to you, Eric.
We love Eric.
Jared Neiman had this song called Yellow Brick Road. It's like a really just old school, and he can sing the shit out of that really old school country kind of stuff. And drink to that all night. Props to him for getting a number one. But he's another guy that I would love to see put out a classic country, just old school record. I'll have to blow him up about it, see if we can do it.
Yeah,
and today, like, he had a phase. Joe Nichols had a phase where he tried to put out like some poppy stuff, and you know he doesn't want to. It was like the label. You know, like there's a lot of those artists from the 2000s, kind of our college range, West, where that we love, that kind of going back to that sound they had 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yeah, there was kind of that weird like phase from like maybe 2005 to like 2010 where there were artists that were like putting out. I just dipped my hand in that beer again. There's beer all over my desk right now, but and my pants. But I'm just doing it. I'm powering through. And but I feel like once kind of the FGLs of the world started taking off, they were like, oh well, maybe we got to jump on this wagon. And it was like, now it's like they should just kind of go back to what they were doing. And like Joe Nichols is probably like one of those guys who I think could.
Yeah, Broken Heartsville, man. Come on.
She only smokes when she drinks.
Yeah, that was like some John Anderson magic right there, you know? It was like John Anderson 2.0 or something. I heard somebody early on compare him to Merle Haggard, you know? And I don't think that's a stretch. Joe Nichols is the real deal. But yeah, he kind of got into that groove, and he had Sunny and 75 and all that.
Yeah. That song, yeah.
Speaking of Florida Georgia Line, Logan, do you think you could beat both of them up at the same time?
I wouldn't want, you know what? Actually, I'll tell you this. I knew Tyler vaguely. I mean, we were at one ASCAP party together, and I remember thinking that he was about my size. I remember thinking, oh yeah, this dude is rock solid. He had like, you know, he seemed jacked. And then the Tyler Hubbard that the world knows, I didn't know. He lost like a bunch of weight. I didn't recognize him when Florida Georgia Line first came out. like I knew him from that first little EP that had Black Tears. I think Jason Aldean cut that song.
Yeah.
And Tyler Hubbard was like,
that was a good song.
Jacked, man. I thought he was my size, and they're both pretty tall. I don't know. I'm not going to say anything. Look, I don't want to fight anybody.
We're just baiting Logan.
Well, we'll tell you a funny story. We'll tell you a funny story after we're done recording about FGO. But man, they came after us once and we just fucking we went fucking scorched earth and we won.
We didn't get along with them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know them that well.
Well, they came after my family. One of them.
Jesus.
Yeah, they try to put stuff on Instagram stories and stuff. The article's on the site. We can send it to you. You'll have a good laugh.
Yeah.
Wes did a great job writing it. Amazing job writing it.
I was having brunch at Royster and Steve's telling me like he's like, we got to write an article. I'm like, all right, I'll go home and write an article about it. Anyway, let's move on to
anyway.
Let's change the subject.
Switching gears.
Let's move on to football. What's going on with the Kansas City Chiefs?
I got Pat Mahomes on one of my fantasy teams, and what the fuck is going on?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
You guys would be better off with Kirk Cousins.
It's bizarre, and I'm not going to be one of those like poisonous, toxic Kansas City Chiefs fans because you can see that. I do follow a lot of Kansas City Chiefs stuff. I'm an avid Kansas City fan. Even when they had like terrible years when they were 3-13 or whatever, I would still die hard. So I'm kind of up with all that. Look, everyone's allowed to have a bad year, so that's fine. But it makes you wonder, like, what happened to the 500-yard games? You know, what happened since then? And Eric Bieniemy was calling these really cool, interesting plays. I don't know if everybody figured them out. It seems like every team they play now, not to go into football.
No, we do. Football. Yeah, but we like to talk. We have a list of stuff that's unrelated to music we can get to.
Well, like it seemed like I remember it was 2 years ago, and every team that played the Chiefs was like, we have the hangover. We have the Monday hangover because they just ran us all over the field. Now it seems like everybody they play, they put two people deep, and it's just like, just don't let Tyreek Hill get behind us.
Yeah.
And then make sure Travis Kelce doesn't get open too much, you know? And they have so many weapons on the team that you would think, oh, well, they can overcome that. They have more speed. They have the two fastest guys in the NFL on their team, Mecole Hardman and Tyreek Hill. Right. So it's bizarre to see. I don't know if it's an O-line deal or what, but I still believe in him. I think, I'll believe in him till I die. So
it was astonishing that Jordan Love and the Packers only lost 13-7 to them. I was like, I expected a nice like 34-17 type win because you have no Aaron Rodgers, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I was so happy when I got Pat Mahomes on my fantasy team, and at the beginning of the year it was fine, and then all of a sudden now he's getting 6 points a week and shit. I'm like, I went from 6-0 to 6-3. Like,
this is a theory I'm going to throw out there, and I don't know.
I have a theory too. So you do yours first.
I'm not trying to talk shit. You know, everybody has their personal. Okay, he just had a kid, right? Like I get that you're the highest paid athlete in sports, right? And at least in the NFL for sure. You just have a kid. You just had one, 2 months ago?
Yeah, mine's 2 months old.
How cool is your wife with you just being like, hey, look, I get we have a kid.
I'm not making $40 million a year. But I'll hire a whole goddamn hospital to keep an eye on her.
If I was making $1 billion a year and I tried to take a shift off of getting up in the middle of the night and be like, look, I'm making $1 billion a year, she's gonna be like, I don't give a shit. You're getting up, you're doing your duty. I mean, that has to play a part, right? You become a dad, and next thing you know, your focus changes, and you're trying to acclimate yourself to juggling more responsibilities, and a baby's a lot. I mean, so I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Do you think his shithead brother has anything to do with it?
I don't know his brother.
His brother is on the sideline, like TikToking every other day. He's like a TikTok star. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
He was like TikToking on dancing on Sean Taylor's number, which pissed fans off. And then he was like throwing water bottles on fans in Baltimore. Yeah. And he seems like a distraction.
Like a real shit.
Seems like a distraction.
I don't know any of the I just know he has a kid. I don't know anything else besides that.
Oh no, it's like every week if you pay attention to some of these blogs, like sports blogs, like it's always, what's his name? Jackson
Mahomes
like starts another like It's always trending. Like
there was a joke about like it was Pat and Aaron Rodgers like talking after a game on the field, and it was like the speech bubble was, you don't have to talk to your family, man.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
didn't
like
see
two
that.
opposite ends of the spectrum, right?
didn't
'Cause
see
that's a
that
huge
shit.
thing with Aaron Rodgers, right? He like cut his family out of his life
Yeah.
and everything, right?
But
There's
just
a lot of theories about that.
yeah,
too.
if you're not familiar with him, then it doesn't matter. But like, look up Jackson Mahomes, and you'll maybe want to smack yourself in the head because
Well, also,
Okay.
but he's been with what happens too, like with Rodgers, like game one game one this year against the Saints. Packers got their ass kicked by the Saints. And everybody's like, oh, it's because Aaron Rodgers is engaged to Woodley.
Shailene Woodley.
Yeah. Well, I actually loved her in Pretty Little Liars, whatever the show was called, but Pretty Little Thing. The HBO show with Nicole Kidman was. I thought you watched it. Help me out here.
Pretty Little Liars.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think
Great
so.
show.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets engaged to this like, and they're like, oh, here we go. And then all these like Green Bay hillbillies start like blaming the woman.
Of course.
That's why he sucked. That always happens when a quarterback
Yeah.
gets with like
Yeah.
Romo with Carrie Underwood.
Yeah.
They'll bring it down, man. The women out there, that's just your focus gets, but it happens to the best of it. But Roger, I love Rodgers, man. He's a badass.
He's one of the all-time greats. It's like, and this whole thing that's going on now is just like, just go play. Like, everybody just like, let's figure this out. Like, you guys are healthy guys. Like, go play.
Yeah.
I'm a Bears fan, and I'll admit that I feel like he's getting run through the ringer right now. And it's kind of like, just let the guy play football. Like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
You have your one day of like, if you disagree with him, you have your day, you talk shit, but it's like not going away. People are tweeting at State Farm to remove him. And it's like, I don't know, but like, speaking of the Bears, West, though, like Justin Fields, that's looking pretty good.
He looked
like,
all right.
I'm kind of jealous.
Right.
Like, it looks like you might have a quarterback for the first time in the history of the franchise.
We just gotta get rid of Matt Nagy, and then he was a Chiefs guy too, no? Wasn't Matt Nagy part of the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Well, no, he came from the Chiefs, but he didn't call plays.
Oh man.
So it's like the offensive coordinator with Andy Reid doesn't actually call the plays.
Well, even on Monday night against the Steelers,
Bieniemy does.
Oh, he does? He's
think
actually called, but I think Andy Reid has a say in like the play calling.
Okay. Okay. That sounds right.
Well, even Monday night against the Steelers, we try and kick a 65-yard field goal when the Bears kicker's never even been close to a 65-yard field goal. Throw a Hail Mary, like give him a chance to win the game. He was 8 yards short. And
then the announcer's like, I apologize. I thought it was closer than it was. And they showed the replay and it hit the 5-yard line.
No, I was watching it and I was like, oh no, it's another doink. I thought I hit the crossbar.
Right.
I'm like, oh, the fucking doink. Like, why is this happening to me? And because when the Bears went down, they were down maybe 6-20. I took the Bears to win the game.
Oh,
I took the odds.
They were probably what, plus 800 or what?
Plus 1,200. And I think I just put like 10 on it, or maybe 5. It was low bet. But like still the payout was nice. And then that happened, and I was just like, motherfucker. But throw a Hail Mary, let them win the game. I don't know. They let Pat Mahomes throw the ball. Justin Fields got a rocket. Like,
somebody posted a video of Patrick Mahomes like mechanics right now, and he's like doing a lot of weird stuff when he doesn't need to. That's what was it Brian Baldinger? I like that guy. Remember him?
Yeah.
He posts a lot of Twitter videos of like on Monday morning. And like Pat Mahomes has like an open pocket. Everything is like guys are running open everywhere. And instead of just being like, he like does his thing and he just starts running around, sidearming it.
Yeah. You know what I love though, and people were giving him a lot of shit for it, was there was that one play, it was all over ESPN, where Tyreek Hill is deep and Travis Kelce's wide open, like what, 15?
Oh, that might be was this recent?
Yeah. And he's just standing there like waiting. And you think Mahomes is going to do the obvious choice and throw it to his boy Kelce. And instead he just goes gunslinger and chucks a 50-something yard bomb to Tyreek Hill. I got to say, that's the Patrick Mahomes I signed up for. I want the risk taker. I want the guy.
Gunslinger.
Yeah.
The Brett Favre.
Brett Favre, yeah.
Yeah. I want the crazy, but that's how I love that.
Well, and to be fair to Mahomes too, there's been a few instances recently where like tip balls that should have been caught.
Yeah, there's been a few of those.
Like turned into interceptions and stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I might take the Chiefs this week. I don't know. We'll see.
You know what? I don't even know who they have.
Are they even playing? They might be on the bye. I don't know.
Bears are on a bye week, right?
No, they have the Broncos, don't they? It's like a conference game, I think.
That's a good one.
Denver, I'm trying to. I was like, my son is like 1.5 now, so we move here, and I'm like, he's not going to be a fucking Bears fan. I grew up a Vikings fan, weirdly, growing up in Indiana because of Randy Moss, but I was like, all right, my son's going to be a Broncos fan, and then I just see this team. I'm like, what the fuck, like. It's like and then they go to Dallas last week and they kick their ass. And I'm like, what the fuck? It's such a weird team. Yeah. But I'm like, I like him to be a Broncos fan. Like Peyton Manning still lives here. Like,
right.
Get him into that world. But I don't know, the NFL, like, do you gamble?
I'm not a good gambler, and I've tried a couple times and it never works out for me, so I'm just like, I've kind of retired from gambling. But if I was gonna gamble right now in the AFC, I mean, as much as I hate this, well, is Derrick Henry out for?
Yeah, he's another
end of the year, I think. End of the year.
Titans still, though, they look so good,
and they beat the Rams like that.
Yeah,
I took the Rams.
My buddy's in a $220,000 pot, winner take all. Like there was like 9,000 people in the pool. And like half of them had left last week, had the Rams winning. And so now there's only 200 people left. It's like, it's just like the NFL is like fucking so hard to bet. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars winning 9-6 or 6-3 against the Bills. You're just like, how is this possible?
Yeah,
I don't know. Curse.
The Jacksonville over Buffalo, I think, was the most bizarre one of the year for me. Because I mean, Josh Allen seems indestructible, right? That dude's on a roll, and then the Jags come in and beat you.
My friend put a lot of money on that game, on the money line for Jacksonville, and he won a lot of money.
Damn.
It's just like,
it's the Manning curse. Have you seen that?
Have you heard about this?
I don't know that I've heard of this.
So you know how Manning, Peyton, and Eli have their Monday night Manning cast?
The best.
Which is awesome. Absolutely awesome. Every guest that's been on it has lost the following week. So Travis Kelce included, Russ Wilson, Tom Brady, Gronk.
Really?
And then Josh Allen went on
and they go to play Jacksonville.
So it was like, all right.
Ooh.
And when it first came out that this might be a thing, it was like, all right, Josh Allen was just on it. They're playing Jacksonville next week. We'll all wait to make judgments if it's real or not until the Bills play the Jaguars. Jaguars beat them. And it's like, okay, well, this is definitely a thing. Like, I'm not going on there. If I'm an active NFL player, I'm not going on Peyton Manning's show.
Absolutely not. My son, he's 10, and he is obsessed. He knows every player in the league, I think. I mean, if they're a playmaker, he knows them. And he pulled up the Manning cast to watch that instead of the regular.
Oh, you have to watch that one.
Yeah.
And he's like, Dad, this is awesome. And I'm like, God, I just want to watch the regular. He loved it. He ate it up. But I'll have to
it's like you feel like you're in a bar with a couple guys.
Yeah.
Almost kind of. And they're funny and they're drinking. Payne's always got his solo cup, and like God knows what he's got some stuff in there. And Eli had 3 FCC complaints. They want him like off the air because he did the double middle finger.
Oh, that's great.
You also have Peyton too and Eli in a sense, like, but they're like breaking down the huddle. They're breaking down the pre-snap. They're like talking about routes, and it's like,
that is interesting for sure.
I mean, these guys, like, one of the best quarterback of all time, maybe not of all time, but I'm a big Peyton Manning guy. And then like, I guess Brady's better, whatever. Doesn't matter. Eli too, 2-time Super Bowl champ. Like, we're talking about great quarterbacks here, breaking down in the huddle, pre-snap. I'm like, I'd rather watch this than I don't even know who's doing Monday night.
You got Brian Greasy. Brian Greasy's on Monday, the other broadcast.
Like, right? Like
Brian Greasy and Steve Levy.
Yeah, what's one that Joe Buck does where it's like you just have to mute the whole entire game?
Him and Troy Aikman do the Fox week of the game of the week, and you just want to fuck it. And he's like, he has such a bias. He like hates Chicago.
Oh, dude, I cannot fucking stand Joe Buck.
Yeah, it's
Joe Buck. Fuck you. I'm saying
it. Yeah, Joe. I don't care. I can usually listen to anything and listen through it and be fine. I'm pretty passive. But man, the Joe Buck shit is like I mute it. I just watch the
Right.
game.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we've gotten a little long. I got to run actually.
What do we have?
Oh, yeah.
An hour and 10?
Yeah, but I do have a question for you when we hit stop record. But welcome to Prairieville. Everybody go get it, listen to it, stream it, buy it, whatever you want to do. Don't get it illegally, people.
Don't steal it from Walmart.
You're like, whatever, go get it. As long as
Yeah,
you
just
listen.
as long as you listen to it, you can steal it. It's fine. Just come to a show.